fine. We'll just be out there, okay, when they're ready. Do I owe anything extra for this?
Yeah, so there will be a balance.
How much?
Depending on whether she's able to get her voucher or not.
Yeah.
So if it's just yours, it'll be 67.
Now I've got 2 more things to show you. This next one's always so fun. I'm sure you guys enjoy this. What I've got in here is one of our beautiful crocodile species that occurs here. Leopard Park, I should say. It's not a saltwater or freshwater crocodile though. There are 2 native species of crocodilian. Instead for you I have an American alligator. Now I'm not going to put this gator too close to that snuggling turtle, although they are some species over in the southeastern United States. They occur together. Really large food item, also sticking to the smaller stuff. Now the alligator is something that we've been involved with here at the Australian Reptile Park for a very, very long time. In fact, we imported our first group of American alligators from the United States way back in the late 1960s, and we've maintained them consistently ever since. In fact, there's still some of those original animals up in the big lagoon up there. Some of those males up there are nearing 80 years of age. So they can live for a long time, and the old ones, of course, they tend to slow down a little bit, but some of those old boys up there, they're still going strong, they're still very dangerous, and we have to be obviously quite careful when we go up in there. In the middle of summer, if we've got some food, it can get a bit chaotic, a bit hectic. Of course, one alligator is reasonably placid and docile and simple to work with, but when you've got 20 of them coming at you and you've got a bucket of chicken, they still can be pretty dangerous if they want to be. Now, one more time. I'm going to grab this escape knee turtle. I'm going to take it right up here. There's that worm-like tongue that I spoke about. You might be able to see it. Alright. Now I've got one more thing to show you, and for this one I do actually need a volunteer to come in here and give me a little bit of assistance. Is there anyone that would be keen for that? I'm going to go with you, buddy. Do you want to come in? Perfect. Oh! It's alright, she's stopping. Alright. Now you come and stand up here with me. Stand up on that rock. And what's your name, mate? Henry. And how old are you, Henry? You're 8 years old. What a great age. I wish I was 8 again. Now, how are you going so far in your life? Reckon you're going to hit double digits? Maybe. Excellent. That's the right response. Particularly when you're in the situation you're in right now. You never know how this could go. Now, not in that box. This one. That's a snapping turtle box. Oh. Now what I've got in here for you, Henry, I'll be honest, it's a snake. And how do you go with snakes? Your face is dropped a bit. Do you like snakes? Alright, well we're going to see. We're going to run with it anyway. He's not running in fear, so that's a good start. He's not screaming, he's not crying. Now, fantastic I understand that snakes aren't quite for everyone, so bring on a few alternatives as well. Coming through the gate right now, we have a much smaller American alligator. A little bit easier to wrangle than Rosie here. You can get your photo taken with that one. We also have a tawny frogmouth there with Tyler, and he's double handling at the moment. He's got a tawny on one arm, and on the other he has one conservation work that we do here. Alrighty, thank you so much for your attention, guys. I hope you enjoyed that. Hope you learned something most importantly. Head down, grab a photo, enjoy the rest of the day here at the park. It looks like it's going to be pretty nice to walk around the place today. We'll see you again very, very soon. Thank you, guys. Famously reach weights of 100 kilograms. But the only way is around 42 kilograms. But it's going to continue to grow for the entirety of his life. They can get to around 3 metres long, and at the moment is 2.1 metres long. They're beautiful lizards, and the coloration of this particular animal is quite vibrant. Now, watch the way he moves towards his favourite tree over here. He's going to hang himself on the side of that tree. Now that I've said it, he's probably not going to do it. But he'll usually scratch his neck, and then the whole body as well. Let's see if he does it. Don't make a liar out of me, Kraken. So he's had a little lip. He knows that's his famous tree, and he's moved away from it. Now, obviously, to be able to work this closely with such a big lizard, we have to form.
They're probably in the tunnel there, look.
Pretty special bond with him. He needs to trust.
Can you see the turtle? Yes. What one?
Australia's wildlife is uniquely balanced and found nowhere else in the world. However, precious and invasive reptile park, Aussie Island, and the reptile park felt confident in their ability to change the dreadful trajectory of their unique Australian cities. Oh, here we go. Here's the froggies. Yeah, look. Here's the frogs.
Photo of this one and show Mummy. Can you see it? Let me put the brake on.
Is that? What's that one?
Leopard! Oh, yeah.
Okay, Lindy. I'm going up a beach. Mommy. Wait a minute. Hi, Sarah.
nightlight to daylight by accident?
Yeah, but surely it wouldn't be turning on with the fuse.
You would think so.
Ah, it's alright, we're just trying to figure out what the switch does.
Right. Do anything?
Yeah. Yeah, it's daylight. That's weird. I feel like they meant to be on a timer. No, but somewhere they should be.
Yeah. Or when they do when they close, this place.
Cool.
When they close.
You spin it.
Rare that you'll get any more than say 2 or 3 of the healthy breeding cycle. Now once they're born, they'll stay in the pouch for probably about 6 months and they'll continue to drink the milk off mum. They'll start to sit on the back of mum at around that time, but they do have to be very, very careful. The dad devil has no maternal instincts whatsoever. So if he's still in the vicinity, in the area, he will absolutely, without any hesitation, eat the little baby. So it's very, very tragic for the little baby devil, but they've actually attributed a skill of their own that adult devils, these 2 girls, and keep in mind these 2 girls are only 2.5 years old each, they can't do, and that's to climb trees like the one to my left here, and to swim across bodies of water. So little baby devils can absolutely do that. They're absolutely, that's quite young to obviously lose your agility, only 2.5 years old and these girls can't climb a tree. Well, that's because a devil's lifespan is actually quite surprising. Because anyone guess how long they reckon, on average, a Tassie devil lives for? Yep. Close, that's not bad. Anyone else? 5 years on average. That's it, only 5 years. So out in the wild, it can get to as low as 3 on average, which is very, very sad. But that's just the way these guys have evolved. I fed you 2 kilos of beef, and you just swapped the bucket. But these guys in captivity can live up to 7 years, so that was a very, very good guess. But it's on average, it's about 5 to 6 years old. So like I said, they're really right into the fire from birth, and they continually have all the problems in the world for only about 5 years. But luckily enough, down in Tassie, these guys are the apex predator. There's no real natural predator that these guys have to worry about. The last one that they did have was the Tassie tiger, the thylacine, and obviously now that that has gone extinct, these guys did have a part in that, a very, very minimal part, nothing outside of the natural selection. These guys would hunt the young of a Tassie tiger, the Tassie tiger would hunt the young of a devil. So very, very similar kind of animals. Now that the thylacine has gone extinct, these guys are the largest carnivorous marsupial on the planet. And they actually were, thousands of years ago, found all over the mainland of Australia, but it's widely regarded that these guys were actually hunted off mainly by dingoes. And that's the main reason why they're so well attributed to be in Tassie, because there are no dingoes down there. So these guys really do thrive. They've got a massive abundance of food down there. They only really have to worry about the human interaction when it comes to any sort of population deficits. They don't have to worry about any sort of natural predators for their young outside of the devil themselves. And they don't really have to ever worry about anything outside of 2 main horrible things that these guys get affected by every year. And since about 2016, these guys have lost about 70% of their population to these 2 things. One is obviously, like I mentioned before, with their main food source coming at the side of a road, these guys get really ill affected by cars and traffic. It's absolutely tragic. These guys being so small, nocturnal, they
What's he up to? Playing the water? Scratching? Maybe grooming his oily waterproof fur, or sweeping his bill across the bottom looking for food. Can you see his food? Yabbies, worms and prawns. Yum! He eats an enormous amount in a 24-hour period, almost half of his body weight. This one weighs a kilo, so that's 500 grams of food each day. Imagine how much food that is for a person. If you weigh 100 kilos, that's 50 kilos of food you have to eat every day. Now, did you know that male platypus is venomous? Like a snake, except they don't have fangs. They've got a poisonous spur on their back legs, and it's really got a punch. It's believed to be one of the most painful stings in the world that can last for months. Zookeepers are often people who get stung while they're handling plats. Some have been stung on their hands and say the pain is so bad they'd rather have their hand cut off. Most of
specialization and adaptability. From this day forward, let all warm-blooded creatures embrace this scaly world and know that tolerance, like you, I have to behold. In other words, if I hear about anybody swerving with his stinks of the gold, I will track you down through the ages and eat you.
Welcome, come on in. You step into my car. Lots of fun awaits you. Just a little bar. Say my name is City. That's just cut it short. I got you tonight, this is a really good song. Learn about my family. Make sure you investigate. My world, places that break racism. Now let's bring change.
That's the toilet, that's right. Okay, come on. Here we go this way. This way. Yeah, here we go. Come this way. A big spider, isn't it? Come on. There's my spider. back down, isn't it? You'll have to go the other way. This way, we'll go this way, right? Yeah, come on, we'll meet him there. Step. Watch your step.
Two, one. 3, 2, 1. Nah, he's not very fast at all. So he's a very, very large bodied lizard with really short, stubby legs. So he doesn't move all that fast. And because he doesn't move all that fast, he's had to adapt a few defenses that he takes advantage of. Takes advantage of those defenses to try and make himself look less appealing to whatever wants to eat him. So a lot of things that do want to eat him. You got your feral cats, you got your foxes, you got your large birds, all that sort of stuff. So all these sorts of animals do want to eat this little fella. So what he's going to do, that big blue tongue acts as a perfect little segue into one of his defenses, and that's where he sticks that tongue out. He'll puff it out to around about 3 or 4 times the size it normally would be. He's going to suck a bunch of air in and try and make himself look as big as he possibly can. He's going to hiss a little bit, he's going to jump, he's going to try and just make himself look absolutely massive and really unappetizing to whatever wants to eat him. And that bright blue tongue, apart from just puffing out to 3 or 4 times the size it normally would be, that bright colour, so your bright colours in your animal kingdom signify danger. So like I said before, you've got your red-bellied black snake, big black snake with a really bright red belly, a very, very deadly animal, one of the deadliest animals we do have here. You've got your blue-ringed octopus, they got bright blue bands going all the way down their legs and they get a little bit upset. Again, another very, very deadly animal. So that's what this little fella is trying to mimic when that does happen, when he flashes that blue tongue. So he flashes that out, so whatever animal that looks at that thinks, oh no, this guy, he might be dangerous, he could be potentially venomous, potentially poisonous, so I don't really want to mess with him, so I'm gonna go on my way and try and find something else to eat. And then he's cheering. But if that doesn't work, because a lot of animals do see through that blue tongue facade of it that he's got going on, so they're going to try and maybe grab the back of him, because obviously the front, where his teeth are, where his tongue is, they're going to go, I'm going to try and get the back of him, he's not going to be able to do too much to me. So when they do grab onto the back, because he is a skink, so he's one of the largest members of our skink family, he's able to sever that tail off. So just behind his back legs, right about there, he'll just drop that tail completely. It'll sever off, there'll be no blood, it'll just fold straight over. So that tail is going to fall off, it's going to hit the ground, and it's got thousands of little nerve endings that run up and down this tail, and that's what makes it be able to flip on the ground. So if anyone's been out in their garden trying to catch lizards, they might be digging, put some new plants, all that sort of stuff in. You're going to see that movement, it's going to be freaking out, they're going to see, oh, how good is this? A nice easy meal instead of this big thing that's got 4 legs and it's going to run away from me. A big worm, so to speak, that he's going to be able to grab and chew onto. So which is fantastic for this little lizard, because as soon as that tail drops and takes the predator's attention away, he's going to dart off under some nice leaf litter. That's what they like to eat. That's what they like to live. So I'll stay on this sort of stuff. So, sorry dude, it's a little bit damp, but we've got to make a point. So he's going to sit under this sort of stuff. He's going to make me look silly and come straight out of it. That's sweet. So he's going to sit like that, and that's where he hides. So if a predator was to come out and try and grab him, he's going to screw under that little leaf litter, and he's going to hide and make himself look real camouflage. So that's what that pattern on his back does as well, which is fantastic. But fear not, when he does drop that tail, it does grow back. Being a skink, he will be able to grow it back. It's never going to look as good as it does. So I think this little fella, you can see the end of his tail isn't quite fantastic. So he has lost his tail in the process of his life. He's probably around about 6 to 7 years old. So in that little lifespan he's had so far, he has lost his tail. But as you can see, he did grow it back. It doesn't look as pretty as the rest of him does. So once they grow it back, it will grow back, but not as vibrant. So it's going to grow back, I should say, not grow. It's going to grow back very, very nice and not as vibrant as the nice tail, or as nice as lizard tails can go when they grow back. But if someone wants to grab onto that tail again and he was to drop it, then he's not going to be able to grow it back. So he can only grow it back once in his lifetime. Otherwise, he's going to be a little stub tail lizard, which isn't good for him. You guys want a little pat of him? Back.
Now, so a lot of people do mistake these guys for snakes when they're in the backyard, because obviously they can only see their head and then that tongue flick that's coming out every couple of seconds. Just stay away from his head, guys, just on his back. That little tongue flick that does come out every couple of seconds, he's alright. So you can see he's just flicking it out. He's trying to find out, oh, he's not going to do it now, there we go. He's just trying to find out what's going on around his surroundings and all that sort of stuff. But these guys are an ectothermic animal. Oh, let me see. These guys are an ectothermic animal, and what that means is they're cold-blooded. So they can't regulate their body temperature like mammals can. So like kangaroos, humans, wallabies, all that sort of stuff. All those sort of animals can regulate their body temperature. Lizards can't do that. Reptiles in general can't do that. So from this little fella all the way up to Elvis, our big saltwater crocodile that sits up in the pond up there, they're all cold-blooded animals, so they do need the sun to warm themselves up. Hey, guys. No worries. So as I was saying, they do need the sun to warm themselves up. So on a nice day like today, our reptilian friends are going to be moving quite a bit. So your snakes will come out and your lizards will come out to try and soak up as much sun as they can. So they're going to absorb all that sun because they don't get their energy from food like most of our, like we do, most of our other sorts of mammals and all that sort of stuff do. They get their energy from the sun. So once the sun warms them up, then they're ready to take on the day. And being warm enough like that is when they're going to go out and find their food. So these guys are omnivorous animals, so they like to eat insects as well as meats and leafy greens and all that sort of stuff. That's why they're absolutely awesome to have in your backyard, because it's like nature's pest control. If you like growing veggies, have a little veggie patch at the back, you grow your kales, you grow your lettuces, all that sort of stuff, and all your snails and your grasshoppers and your crickets and all that sort of stuff are eating these vegetables. These little fellas will take care of that pest problem for you. On the downside of that, they do also love eating those lettuces and the kales and all that sort of stuff. But they'll take care of your snails, your grasshoppers, your crickets, all that sort of stuff. And also, they love eating the world's most venomous spider. Does anyone know what the world's most venomous spider is? Up the back? The Sydney funnel web, exactly. And that is found in smack bang, right in the middle of one place, and one place only on the entire planet. And that's in the middle of the Sydney Basin. So right where we live, from about Newcastle all the way down to Nowra, and as far west as about Lithgow, is where you're going to find the Sydney funnel web spider, arguably the world's most venomous spider. So what these guys are going to do is sit in that little funnel, hence the name funnel web, and they're not going to move overly fast or overly far. And they're an ambush predator, so they're going to wait for that animal, so like a small rodent, cricket, grasshopper, snails, all that sort of stuff, to walk past their funnel. Then they're going to launch out, bite that animal, envenomate that animal, and then proceed to consume that animal. But this little fella, because he's got those nice chunky little legs, he just scoots along in the underbrush of the leaf litter, and he's going to find that little spider sitting in that funnel, and he's just going to chomp on him. He's going to eat him every single day for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. As much as he can find him, he's going to eat him, which is fantastic for us, because we don't have to deal with those sorts of spiders, and fantastic for him, because he's got a nice easy meal. Doesn't have to work overly hard or go overly far for it. And he doesn't have any repercussions from that venom whatsoever, which is pretty cool for him. And there's also been a study done in the last 10 years or so, in the last decade, about these guys and what else can they do that we don't really know about. And we have found that they are also immune to red-bellied blacksnake venom, which is pretty good for him as a species as well, in case he gets into a tussle with a red-bellied blacksnake. So hopefully he doesn't, but in the case that he does, he's going to be completely fine, unless that red-belly decides to eat him. But we'll see how we go. Now, who doesn't like snakes? Oh, you don't like snakes? You like snakes? You don't like snakes? Oh, we're going to find out how much you don't like snakes. We'll see how we go. Come on, dude. Showtime. Put on a good show. There he is. Does anyone know what he is? He is a python. Do we know what kind of python? He's got a black head and he's a python. What do you think he is? Black-headed python, exactly. Back more unique naming of our Australian animals. Black head, he's a python. Black-headed python. Fantastic. So he's a non-venomous constrictor, hence the name python in the python family. All of them are non-venomous, which is absolutely awesome for us, because we are able to do this with them. Which is, ooh, there's a rock there. Watch out, watch your step. Which is really cool. So what he likes to do, he lives in far north Queensland and over towards central Australia, and he's a lizard eater. Don't you bite me. Or a lizard eater, not a mammal eater. So he likes to eat lizards. So I'll get into a little bit more about it in a sec when I bring out our next animal, but he doesn't have any heat pits running down the length of his mouth. So if you were to look at his mouth, he doesn't have any of those heat pits, and you might not know what I'm babbling on about when I say heat pits, but you will in just a moment when I bring out one of our other snakes. But obviously you can see that bright black head of his. He's also an ectothermic animal, so a cold-blooded animal. And what that blackhead serves to this little fella is absolutely awesome for him, because he likes to live in rocky escarpments, in the cracks of the red soil out in the middle, which is absolutely fantastic for him, because he's just going to stick his head out of the... Don't you bite me. Come on. Head up, head up, head up, head up. No, he doesn't want to do it. We'll try again in a little bit. So what he's going to do, he's going to stick... Oh, don't you do it? Whoa! What he's going to do is he's going to stick... You can go on the ground now. What he's going to do is he's going to stick his head out of a rock escarpment or out of the red soil in the middle and absorb all the sun that way. So he's going to absorb all that sun straight through his head and not have to expose his entire body like he's doing now. Because if he doesn't have to expose his entire body, predators that are from the sky can't really see him. So if you've got your big raptors that are flying over the head and looking down trying to find the next meal of mice, rats, all those sorts of rodents, possums, all those sorts of things, they're going to be able to see this great big snake that's just sliding around. But if he's able just to stick his head out and absorb all his sun that way, he can just stick his head straight back in. That I was going to demonstrate, but he's trying to bite me, so we're not going to do that. So he's just going to stick his head straight back into that rock escarpment, so no one can see him. So he's just going to stick it straight in, so he doesn't have to expose his entire body. Because if you could see that entire body from the sky, you'd know he was just going to get picked off by one of those big raptors, like the wedge-tailed eagles and all those sorts of animals. So if you want to sit there, dude, we're not going to pat you because you're being mean. We'll pat our next animal. So we're getting into a little bit of reproduction with these guys. So we do have snakes in Australia that like to, all over the world in fact, that like to lay either eggs or live birth. They don't really have a decision. It's just what that kind of snake does. So our red-bellied black snakes, they will give birth to live animals, but then a few of our python species will lay eggs. So it's really cool with the way these guys do reproduce like that, be it the live or the egg laying. But what the difference is between normal eggs, so everyone knows what a chicken egg is. You've got a little chicken egg and there's an embryo that sits right in the middle of that egg, and there's all these veins that shoot off the shell and hold that embryo right in the middle of the egg. With reptiles, that isn't the case. So if you had that chicken egg and you were to rotate it... degrees and incubate that egg, it is still going to hatch. You can take that out of the incubator, rotate it another 90 degrees and put it back in, it is still going to hatch. But if you were to do that with a reptile egg, it is no longer going to hatch. So if this snake were to lay an egg and you pick it up and it was laid completely flat, so you pick it up like this and you were to turn it like that and you were to incubate that egg, it's no longer going to hatch. So what a reptile egg is different to a chicken egg is the reptile egg doesn't have all those veins holding the embryo right in the middle of the egg. So if you were to rotate that, that embryo egg is just going to float to the top. There's a little air pocket, but if you were to rotate that, the air pocket's shifted in the egg, and that embryo can now no longer breathe, so to speak. And that embryo is then going to drown in the embryonic fluid and no longer be fertile. So what snakes have done to counteract this, because eggs are obviously a weird shape, if they were to lay an egg on a sloped surface, that egg's just going to roll away from them. They're going to lay their eggs, and all those eggs are going to stick together. So this little fella will lay anywhere between 15 and 20 eggs in what we call a clutch. So a clutch is like a little pyramid of eggs, and the eggs are all sorts of different directions. And whatever way that snake lays that egg is what the way that egg has to stay. So they'll lay it into a clutch, and all those eggs are going to stick together, and then this snake is going to coil itself around those eggs to keep them nice and warm. So what she's going to do is she'll leave the clutch of eggs during the day to go out and soak up as much sun as she possibly can, and then she's going to scoot back to those eggs, wrap herself back around them, and with her body temperature, she's going to incubate those eggs and keep them nice and warm. But if you get a really rough sort of day, a little rainy day, overcast, not very warm at all, like a 15-degree day, with no sun, she's not going to go out and bask. She's just going to stay wrapped around those eggs, and she's going to do what humans do when we get cold. We're going to shiver. So we shiver trying to keep ourselves warm. She's going to do the exact same thing. Not to keep herself warm, but to keep her eggs warm. So if she shivers, which is like thousands upon thousands of little muscle contractions in her entire body, it's going to change the temperature of those eggs several degrees or so, which is pretty cool considering there's no sun that she's going to be able to absorb. So we're going to see if we can get her back in her bag with no incidents. But if there is an incident, you guys are going to find it absolutely hilarious, and I not so much. So you can just sit there. Take yourself in there. Fantastic. Okay. There we go. No mishaps, which is fantastic for me. Not so much fun for you guys. It's a little bit funny, but not funny for me. So we'll bring out our next animal, and now you will understand what I was going on about when I meant heat pits. That rubber band broke. That's good. I'm going to pull her out. Don't be alarmed. We don't leave these guys in pillowcases all the time. They just come in these pillowcases when they transport from up the top to down here, because it's a nice warm place for them. It's dark. It keeps them safe, and they feel secure in those bags, which is fantastic for them, good for us. And then as soon as we take them back up, we unpack them out of this little trolley, and they go back into their nice warm, heated and very, very well lit up exhibits, and they absolutely thrive, and I love it in there. But this little fella is a little Simpsons python, and her name's Stella. Stella the Simpsons python. Very easy to remember. And she is one of the most widely distributed pythons in all of Australia. So in Australia we have roughly 142 terrestrial land snakes, species of terrestrial land snake, and 32 different species of sea snake, which is fantastic for us. And all of those species of sea snake that we found so far are venomous. So if you were to go out swimming, get bitten by a snake, hightail at the hospital fairly quickly. It's not going to be too much fun. But pythons, her being a Simpsons python, make up around 14 species of that 142. And they're all pythons, so they're all non-venomous. And pythons are found in 3 continents on the entire planet. They're found in Africa, they're found in Asia, and they're obviously found in Australia, which is really, really cool. And as I'll bring her around, you might see she's got a different head to our black-headed python. She's got those pits that go up and down her mouth. So that's what I was going on about with those heat pits. You might be able to see that she's got a slightly different kind of head to what our black-headed python did. She's got all those heat pits that go up and down the side of her mouth. And what that does is, because she's not a reptile eater, she likes to eat warm-blooded animals. So no, that's her tongue there. So if you see those little pits on just underneath her eye, up her mouth, those are our heat pits. So coupled with that tongue, so you can see that tongue going in every now and again, every couple of seconds. So that tongue is picking up the scent. So it's a forked tongue, and she's going to flick it out, lick it up and down, pick all the scents that are up in the air. So she's smelling me, she's smelling you guys, she's smelling every single person that's standing right here now, and you're all appearing as one like big red glow because they, pardon me, pick up their prey in infrared. So I'll bring up, you guys can have a look at the the heat pits that I was talking about. There's pits on the side of the mouth. They're really cool. So as I was saying, coupled with that tongue, she's going to stick that tongue out, she's going to flick it up and down and bring all the scent that she's picking up in the air straight back into her mouth. And in her mouth she has what's called a Jacobson's organ, and this organ sits right in the roof of her mouth. She pulls the tongue back in, flicks that organ with her tongue, it sends a signal to her brain, simultaneously sends it straight back down to her and tells her which side is more dominant of the scent. So if she was to stick her tongue out and pick up all the dominant scents on the right side and then bring it back into her mouth, obviously her brain's going to tell her the animal she's looking for is on the right side and to head in that direction. Now they do have fairly good eyesight, so they can see as well, but they don't have ears, so snakes don't have any ears whatsoever, so they can't hear you, they sense you through the ground. But with that tongue, that's all she does. She's smelling with that tongue, so she's not licking me, or she is to a certain degree. She's licking me to find out what scents are on me, but she's not smelling me with her nose. So a python's nose is only really for breathing, which is pretty cool. So she sticks that tongue in and out and brings all the scents back in. So what these guys like to do, because they're a non-venomous constrictor, they don't have any venom to be able to bring their prey down. So what they do is they're an ambush predator. They wait for that animal to scoot past them, so they are a very opportunistic animal. They're going to learn the patterns of the animals they're trying to eat, and they're going to find a thoroughfare of what this animal uses regularly, and they're going to sit very close to that. Once that animal goes running past, she's going to strike out, much like our funnel web. She's going to grab onto that animal, and then she's going to wrap it up. Kind of like she's doing to my arm right now, but more severe and angry, more upset. So she's going to reach out, grab that animal, wrap it up, and then just hold on to it until that animal is 68. So she's going to squeeze really, really tight, and every time that animal takes a big breath in, she's going to get tighter, tighter, and tighter, and tighter, and tighter, until that animal can no longer breathe, passes away, and then she's going to proceed to consume that animal completely whole, like all of our other reptiles do. Reptiles tend not to chew their food too much, so when mum and dad say chew your food, just be like, I'm a reptile, don't worry about it, I don't need to chew my food.